On today's episode of the Breakthrough Live, I have a very special briefing for you. No matter where you are in the world right now, I can sense that there's a lot of anxiety, panic over world events. The population is beginning to understand that the people that they vote for aren't necessarily the people that control society, and that the messages that they're receiving, people are having a hard time trusting them. So, in a world where everything feels like it's falling apart, those of you who are like me have always turned to the Most High. You've always turned within. I've spent years studying mindfulness, but only this week, only in the midst of global chaos, has a special video landed across my desk. I want to show it to you because this video comes from a professor. Actually, he's a teacher. He's a school teacher. But what he is saying, what he has been saying, this school teacher from China known as Professor Zhang, it's so fascinating to watch him work. Just a little background before we begin. This school teacher, this high school teacher, blows up on YouTube to the tune of 1 million subscribers in like a year, teaching Western history, teaching European history. What's so fascinating is that he's good. And right now, there are people who will take his likeness, take his teachings, and put them into AI specified content. They'll basically create an amalgam of his words, his teachings, his lessons, and put them into one coherent 10-minute video. One of these videos I want you to see tonight because it is going to be the focus point of us going beyond the mindfulness that sounds good, but ultimately serves the needs of those who seek to control rather than the true needs of the soul. And so, folks, we got to get to it. Tonight, we're going deeper and deeper. And if you're ready to live free beyond fear, welcome here. I'm Dr. Shawn, and I believe you do not need years to heal. You just need one real breakthrough. That's why I invented Transcendent Psychology, and I test it in the real world on real people on my game show, Countdown to Breakthrough, the only game show that heals your soul. Right now, you're on the Breakthrough Live, where we break down the science of healing so that you get your own breakthrough. Live. On today's show, I have a clip from Professor Zhang. It is possible, by the way, it is possible that this individual is actually an operative from China that is, this information is spilling around the internet very quickly. The thing about Professor Zhang is that it's hard to find anything that he's saying that doesn't make sense, which means that people in high places, people in and power, they can decide when to tell you the truth and when not to, when to send a messenger to tell you the truth and when not to. And when you're looking to create a sort of instability within a nation, how convenient. What a time. For this Professor Jane to actually appear and pop up on the scene. Let's get to this. I got to show you what this is. By the way, twin, I see you. I see you. I see you. He's saying, good evening, Dr. Shawn. Twin, other twin, good evening, Dr. Shawn, and all happy new year. Felicity's in the room. She's saying, good evening, all. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Let's get to this because I want to break this down. Typically, we start with the episode of Countdown to Breakthrough. Today, we're starting with something else. Check this out.
Everyone knows the story of Detroit, how the auto workers built the middle class, how unions gave us weekends and healthcare, okay? So we tell ourselves this was capitalism's golden age, when workers and management found balance, when a factory job meant a house, 2 cars, college for the kids, okay? The problem is that in 1972, at the most advanced auto plant ever built, the youngest and most educated workforce in GM history basically said, fuck this. And what happened next changed everything, not just for factories, but for every workplace, okay? Maybe even your own mind. The Lordstown plant was GM's crown jewel. They recruited workers with the promise that this wasn't your father's factory. GM executives would bring visitors from around the world to see the future of manufacturing. And within 6 months, these workers, who had everything the labor movement fought for, were sabotaging the line. So they were letting cars roll off with engines missing, slashing upholstery, okay, putting Coke bottles inside door panels so they'd rattle. The plant that was supposed to produce 100 cars an hour was managing maybe 40 on a good day. The problem is that the management was baffled, okay? These weren't oppressed workers fighting for bread. These kids had money, okay? They had benefits. They had what every union since the 1890s demanded. So GM did what any rational corporation would do. They hired industrial psychologists to figure out what the hell was wrong with these people, okay? The psychologists spent months in Lordstown. They interviewed hundreds of workers, okay? And they discovered something that should have been obvious. The workers weren't sabotaging cars because conditions were bad. They were sabotaging because conditions were good enough that they could finally see clearly what they were becoming. One worker, this guy, Gary Briner, put it perfectly. A man becomes part of the machine. Every minute, every second, your movements are dictated. You're nothing but an extension of that line. See, previous generations were too busy surviving to think about what factory work did to your soul. But the Lordstown workers, they had full bellies and money in the bank. And with their basic needs met, they could feel something else. They could feel their humanity being processed into productivity. Now, here's where it gets interesting. GM could have slowed the line, could have given workers more variety. Some executives actually suggested this. But the psychologists, and listen to this carefully, the psychologists said that wasn't necessary, okay? You didn't need to change the actual conditions. You just needed to change how workers felt about those conditions. So they introduced something called the Quality of Work-Life Program, okay? Workers would meet in circles to discuss problems. They'd have suggestion boxes, okay? They'd get to choose what music played in their section. They'd participate in, quote, job enrichment activities, okay? But the problem is that nothing fundamental changed. Same repetitive motions, same transformation of human into machine, okay? They just added feelings to the process, and it worked. The sabotage stopped. Not because workers were happier, but because they were given the performance of happiness. They could express their frustration in meetings, okay? They could write their complaints on cards. They could feel heard. So within 5 years, every major corporation in America had copied the Lordstown model. IBM created quality circles. AT&T introduced team building. Okay? GE launched workout sessions. By the 1980s, okay, you couldn't find a Fortune 500 company without an employee engagement program. But the problem is that these programs all shared the same DNA from Lordstown. Never change the structure, just manage the feelings about the structure. Okay?
Okay, so you can already see where we're going. He's talking about making sure that productivity is honored at all costs. Okay, and making sure you're already seeing where the mindfulness conversation is about to come in. That people who are interested in high rates of productivity, well, they might be interested in making sure that those emotions stay under control so that that behavior stays under control. You feel me? So here we go. Let's get back.
Okay? Never slow the machine, just help workers accept their place in it. Never address the cause, just process the symptoms. Think about your own workplace. You probably have engagement surveys, feedback sessions, okay? Maybe meditation rooms or wellness programs, an open door policy where you can share concerns, okay? Team building exercises, mental health resources. All of this traces back to Lordstown, to the discovery that rebellion ends not when problems are solved, but when feelings about problems are properly managed. The really brilliant part was making workers responsible for their own emotional adjustment, okay? If you were miserable at Lordstown after the psychologists arrived, it wasn't the line's fault. You weren't utilizing the quality of work-life resources. You weren't participating in the circles. You weren't managing your stress properly. The problem wasn't the machine. It was your relationship to the machine. Fast forward to today. We don't work on assembly lines, most of us, but we have something more sophisticated. We have apps that track our mood, wearables that monitor our stress, companies that provide therapy and meditation and yoga, not to change the conditions causing distress, but to help us bear those conditions more gracefully. Let me tell you about a study from 2019. Researchers looked at...
Okay, I just got to pause. Okay, so you're seeing, he's saying this ain't about managing or changing circumstances or situations, conditions. We don't actually care about things changing. We just want you to get back to work. So we're willing to do whatever's necessary in order to make that happen. But what I want you to understand and pay attention to as he continues to speak is what sort of what has to be missing from these therapy or meditation or these programs that they bring into these corporations or these organizations. Like, what has to be missing in order for people to merely remain pacified rather than transformed? That's the real point that I want to get at tonight. Let's get back.
At companies that introduced mindfulness programs. These researchers looked at companies that truthfully. Let me tell you about a study from 2019. Researchers looked at companies that introduced mindfulness programs. These companies saw a 23% decrease in employee complaints. Sounds good, right? But here's what else they found. No change in actual working conditions. Same hours, same pressure, same fundamental problems. The mindfulness didn't solve anything. It just made workers less likely to articulate their suffering. Now imagine you work at, let's say, Amazon. You're in a warehouse. You're monitored every second. You piss in bottles because bathroom breaks hurt your metrics. Your body is breaking down. And Amazon's solution? They installed something called Amazen, literal meditation booths in the warehouses. Not more bathroom breaks, not slower quotas, meditation booths. So you can center yourself before going back to destroying your knees for $15 an hour. This is Lordstown perfected. GM psychologists would be in awe. You don't even need quality circles anymore. The workers voluntarily enter booths to adjust their own consciousness. They download apps to manage their own stress. They practice gratitude for having a job that's killing them.
All right. I mean, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? I like to keep it PG-13 on here, but damn. He said, look, you can go back, you can go ahead and you can go ahead and center yourself inside a meditation booth so you can get back to the job that's destroying your needs for $15 an hour. I'm laughing, but it's really actually not funny, especially if you know people who have worked at these warehouses before. I'm not here to tell anybody how they should run their business. But I just know what it feels like, or what it feels like to see somebody who comes back and after doing, a shift at the Amazon warehouse. And so you have to ask yourself, what is the nature of these meditation apps? What's the nature of these mindfulness programs? Would you believe me if I told you that entire societies, particularly the Indus Valley civilization, known for controlling its population, from our standpoint, we would see it as control, but we could also say just organizing its population. They would do it around religion. Think of it like a what we know as Buddhism today. Buddhism had an ancestor, it had a predecessor. That proto-Buddhist religion would have been the one that the Indus Valley civilization would have practiced in. And the idea is that if you can just relieve your ego, then you can just be in the present moment doing whatever needs to be done. That is what mindfulness is. And there's been an explosion of research throughout academia talking about the effects of mindfulness. Frankly, I love it. The idea that we're asking people to go within, that people can, just by regulating their breath, just by being in the present moment, can actually change their body on a cellular level. Mindfulness has all kinds of marvelous effects. But in the philosophy around mindfulness, not the actual practice, not breath work, not meditation, not conscious transformation technologies, not the things that actually work, but the story we're telling ourselves around what we ought to do and why we need these techniques in the first place. It seems that from this video that you're getting here, and remember, I don't care what's true. I care about what gets us paying attention and asking deeper and deeper questions. So it doesn't matter to me if these facts are a little off or the percentages are a little, I don't care. It's enough for me to come back to this point about the nature of the narrative, the story that we're telling ourselves around spirituality, around mindfulness, around meditation, around going within. If you tell somebody, go ahead and meditate so that you can calm your emotions, so that you can get back to doing what I just told you to do, that's not real freedom, that's control. That's not real freedom, that's control. I heard in another video, this dude, and I just studied a whole bunch of this person's videos. I was like, oh man, it's kind of cold with it, you know what I'm saying? And so, and even the AI generated joints like we just saw. And I'm thinking like the nature of control. People who are seeking control over others will use anything. They'll take the holy and make it a noose. Take the divine and warp it until it's a hook to throw on somebody. And so when we talk about the productivity situation, rather than changing conditions, and that's fine. If they want to, you know what I'm saying? I'm not telling anybody how they should run their business. I'm just saying that if I'm not paying attention to how I perceive reality and how I make decisions based upon my perception of reality, and at the end of the day, I'm just doing a surface level emotional numbing, what you might call spiritual bypassing. I don't want to deal with the actual situation. I don't want to have to make the hard choice to actually change my behaviors. I don't want to have to take the risk of actually quitting something I do not like, rather, quitting something I do not love. And as a result of that, it's easier to just go ahead and jump into this meditation booth. It's easier to hit the woosah. It's easier to hit the weed. It's easier to hit the massage chair. Because at least those are healthier options than beer, than alcohol. What I'm saying tonight is that all of it is still the exact same fundamental form of spiritual bypassing. Spiritual bypassing just means that you are looking to tap into mindfulness, meditation, some sort of even prayer in order to bypass your problems rather than deal with your problems. Dude, oh, I remember this. Oh, I remember this. I remember when I was 2013, 2013, I was in Chicago. I had just finished one of my master's degrees, right? And had just came back from Africa, had just was publishing papers, was about to publish in my first paper. And I remember the teacher, for people who don't know, the teacher is a Taoist mystic I trained with for 10 years. And during that time, we had built this meditation laboratory. And, inside of this laboratory, I was just discovering opening all these different doors of the mind. It was in that year that I started astral projecting for the first time. I started feeling the body's inner energy for the first time. Feel the energy first, and then as you follow the body's energy, you start to recognize that there are different sorts of bodies within the body, and that these bodies can be sent out into the world and they can interface with the environment. You can commune with nature in a whole different way. And so I just wanted more and more what I called psychic abilities, because my master's degree is in anthropology, one of them anyway, which meant I could not get a job in Chicago. So I was splitting my time between teaching at Harold Washington College, Malcolm X College. What I wanted was some stability. What I wanted was to feel like I didn't just waste $40,000 getting a worthless degree, that my time those last 6 years had been well spent, and that somebody would see my value. That's what I wanted. So I was using the meditation, closing myself off in a room and trying to feel out into the universe. I was using my meditation as a form of spiritual bypassing. So I wouldn't have to deal with the fact, if there are dimensions and realities and universes and other beings that we can go and interface with, that we can go and speak with within the inner dimensions of our own being, that's exhilarating. And if you are one of the few humans who get the opportunity to explore what's within them in such a way, it can be intoxicating. The perfect tonic for not having to deal with unemployment, or in my case, underemployment during those years. So I would get into my meditation. I would turn on Muji. I would turn on Rupert Spira. I would turn on Eckhart Tolle. You know what I'm saying? I would try and get right. I want to get in presence. I just want to be present all day long so I don't have to deal with the thoughts about my unstable condition, my unstable future. Hmm. In today's world, it's fashionable to do it with manifestation techniques. You get it, but it's all the same. It's all the same deal. It's all the same mindfulness. I want to just be mindful. I want to be as present as possible so that I don't have to deal with these thoughts that I'm deeply afraid of. Do you feel me? That's where I was. And so one day I get on the phone with the teacher and I was like, hey, you got any tips for, I can see a tree outside and I can merge my spirit with the tree and I can extract energy from it, right? So I can be tired and instead of taking an Advil, I can just connect with this tree and I can sense that there's a link, a sort of shared link that I can start drawing out what we call earth energy from the tree, but I'm inside. You dig what I'm saying? I was like, yo, this is really cool. He was like, that is really cool. I said, yeah, so you got any more like tips, tricks, anything I can do that's a little bit deeper than this? Because, if I can take this from a tree, like what else can I do? You know what I'm saying? Like if I can tap into a tree like this, what about rivers? Is there a way that I could dissolve myself into the very fabric of the universe? Is that possible? Like these are our conversations. These are our conversations. And he was like, hey man, where are you trying to get to? Those were his exact words. Where are you trying to get to? Now, he could have said it another way. He could have said, where are you trying to get away from? What are you trying to get away from? Because all of this extra exploration, I can sense that you're doing it because you desperately want to be someplace other than where you are. You're trying to find a way to get joy from this external activity rather than dealing with what's in front of you. True mindfulness is being aware. That means being aware of when it is time to sit and when it's time to move. You do not move when it's time to sit. You do not sit when it's time to move. You dig what I'm saying? So the teacher saw right away. He was like, "Look, where are you trying to get to, dude? Like you're already you're already having experiences that you couldn't even dream of 3 years ago, 4 years ago. You already did the astral, but you already understand how things work at a fairly deep level. Exactly where are you trying to get though? And the other way of saying that is where are you trying to get away from? What are you trying to get away from?" So when he asked that, I was like, "Oh dang, where are you trying to get to?" I said, I get your point. But then that doesn't quite stop the problem though, because immediately I was like, "Oh, he just don't want me going all the way. He don't want me going super far. He don't want me, I'm about to pass him up." It's like, okay, when you sit with that real question, when I sat with that real question, I was like, okay, but if in fact I'm not, this isn't a race and I don't need to pass him. And if, what if in fact that he is like he always has, just told me the truth, then let me sit with this question. And sitting with it, I was like, whatever this reality is, whatever this universe is, eventually I got to a place where I was like, whatever reality is, whatever the universe is, the situation is that there will be time for all manner of exploration. But we come to the human experience in order to do something specific. The great thing for those of you who've ever, some people have never astral projected off their own power, but they might have done LSD, or they might have did the ayahuasca joint or the DMT or whatever. Any of those psychedelics will get you, lick the toad, you know what I'm saying? Any of those will kind of get you in the flavor. It'll get you in the, it's not quite the same experience, but it'll get you, you know. But what you realize is that once you're so far removed from the human experience, once you're outside of your own body, looking down at your own body, and you travel far away. This is what astral projection is. You travel into out into the cosmos and all this. And it should sound like fantasy if this is the first time you've ever heard this. I'm not even asking for you to believe me, only to say that when you do make that travel out, like you learn that it's all still you. You dig what I'm saying? Like it is perhaps more intelligent to understand intelligence as already perfect. That when we look for life on other planets, we are operating off of a mistaken assumption of what life actually is. It's that life is already perfect. Intelligence is already perfect. God is already perfect. And so when life enters into an organism, it's doing so in order to have a particular expression. And what I'm saying to you tonight is that the kind of meditation, the kind of mindfulness that these corporations have decided to take on, or that often pacify people. Even when you look at the academic literature, it's usually about dealing with emotion but not changing behavior. Even the books that come out from Simon and Schuster, they talk about mindfulness. They talk about, oh, just wash the dishes when you're washing the dishes. Just cut the grass when you're cutting the grass. And there's a true beauty there. But if you extend that to mean that whatever you're doing requires no pattern change, that just being present rather than being aware of what is happening internally, of being aware of the divine signal so that when it tells you that, hey, look, it's time to leave this job, you leave. You don't stay because you need the check. When your body is aching and you don't love what you're doing, true mindfulness is checking in with the body's energy and finding out, how is this divine frequency moving through me right now such that I would need to audit my behavior, change my behavior, augment what I'm doing. In a world where mindfulness is telling us, where the sort of mindfulness, the kind of mindfulness that we're being taught is telling us that whatever is happening is fine, what I'm saying is yes, and that includes that almost hidden impulse to ask, does what I'm doing right now actually fit my highest excitement, my highest destiny? Am I actually following God's will in this moment? And my definition of God is not a guy in the sky, but rather the deep fabric of reality itself. Am I following that voice? The aching knees are just an example of what it means to listen to your body signal that you are either doing the work or you are not doing the work, the real work. And so, Twin saying everyone should be asking that question right now, right here. What a great question. Where are you trying to get to? Absolutely. Absolutely. Where are you trying to get to? Is it just back to work? Or is it into the unique expression that you took physical form for? You see, that's what the teacher was trying to tell me. What are you trying to do, champ? You want to go explore the cosmos and do all this other, like there's lifetimes for that. That's not why you came here, to be an organism on this planet at this time. He would say that. He would be like, listen, there's plenty of time for, I'd be like, oh, yo, I went astral project. I was flying, man. I was moving through walls. I came and visited you last night, kid. Like, I was saying all this. And he was like, look, there's plenty of time for all that. But if you're constantly being distracted, trying to get somewhere else, trying to do things in order to get things, you're missing the point. And so connecting back with the mindfulness situation is like, If you're in a Amazon warehouse, that's the image that stuck out the most to me. You know what I'm saying? He's like, if you're in the Amazon warehouse and you're just doing it in order to get the check, not because you want to understand how fulfillment centers work, not because you care about operations or you care about the newest technology that they're using, or you care about working underneath somebody who you admire in the company, whatever. There's a lot of other reasons to be in the joint that may be soul directed. But what we want to do is recognize when what we're doing is just trying to get to the end of the week. Like Amazon, cool to throw the Zen centers in there because they just want you to get into the end of the day. So for those people, where are you trying to get to? They're like, oh, just the end of the day. I'm trying to get up out of here. I'm trying to get home. Put some ice on these knees. What I'm always fascinated by is like the human capacity to accept these conditions. Because the subtle belief is that if I can just get through today, then maybe I can get through tomorrow, then I can get to the end of this week, and then I can get to this, and then I can get to that, and then I can get to this, and I don't have to deal with what I'm afraid to do the most. And so in one way, the mindfulness that's currently being taught is almost it's being utilized as an anti-mindfulness. It's got this numbing feature, but not an awareness feature. Yeah, it's like be here now, but don't understand how to read the energy of your soul system, how to read the energy of your body, how to read the energy of your environment. It's like, yeah, have this sort of blank awareness, but that kind of awareness can always be co-opted as long as someone else is telling the story. As long as somebody else is saying, look, it's time for you to get to work or you won't be able to pay these bills and you will be homeless. You dig what I'm saying? Like if that's the story that you're telling yourself, man, it's a rap. Okay, so for me on tonight, it's really not just about mindfulness, it's about your entire spiritual practice. Your entire psycho-neurological practice, your entire system of therapy, whatever it is that you use. If you don't use anything, then I mean, for real, like this notion of spiritual bypassing for people who aren't yet spiritual, those folks will use alcohol, the drugs, they'll hit the weed. You dig what I'm saying? They'll do that. It's just a different kind of, that's just regular bypassing. The slightly more refined version is the one we get in trouble for. That's the spiritual bypassing. And right now, it's looking like that's the lick. Is to convince people, including shareholders, that we care about people's mental health. So we got this app for you. Now, this app is not going to tell you how to tap into the truth of you, because that might mean you might leave here. What it will do is give you the sense that we care. So I'm saying if that same game can be played from person to person, can it be played within and on ourselves? where we start downloading the apps and downloading the techniques and tricks and all this other stuff in order to distract ourselves from what we fear the most, from facing what we fear the most. I heard somebody say today that you could understand all human conflict in the world just by thinking about how all conflict is really one group stealing the energy of another group without paying it back. And so that energy can be oil, that energy can be labor, that energy can be debt, financing, capital. That's how they crushed the Ottoman Empire, one of the ways. That energy can be devotion. Imagine a nation that decides that it wants to create a religion and get people involved in that religion. That religion would require someone's devotion, their attention, perhaps even their life. All of that is energy. So what I'm saying is that, and perhaps that's where our principle comes in tonight. I'm doing this new thing where I don't even know what the teaching is. Let's get to the breakthrough board. So check this out. We got the breakthrough board. And right now we need to talk about the principle, the pattern, and the path. Out of this conversation tonight, looking like there's a principle in here, and it has to do with energy. Give me a minute. Because it's looking like there is a principle in here, and it has to do with energy. I like teaching in principles. The reason is because when I understand the principle of a thing, then I can think my way through an obstacle, even if I know nothing else. So I like teaching from principle. Generally speaking, I have the principles kind of mapped out before I come on live. Tonight, I don't. And so I'm sensing that there's a principle here, a principle about energy. Something like mindfulness without mindfulness without energy is dead. Mindfulness without attention to energy is dead. Because I keep going back to this notion of theft. That the major conflicts, including the ones that are happening right now as we speak, as the airing of this show, this live broadcast, where people are seriously considering that there might be another world war on the horizon. I don't say that to bring any sort of fear to you, only to mention that in order for that to be the case, there would have to be people who feel like energy has been stolen from them or is about to be stolen. Again, that energy can be oil, that energy can be devotion, that energy can be attention, that energy can be people, can be labor. It can be inner resources in terms of social goods. And so if we got the sort of mindfulness that isn't paying any attention to divine frequency. We have a hollow mindfulness. Let's get to the principle. We try to get this up for you. So I'm going to say mindfulness. I'm going to say mindfulness without attention. I even like, mm, mm, mm. It's an I. All right. Now it's an I. Without attention to divine frequency is hollow. I'm saying mindfulness without attention to divine frequency, that's hollow. When I say divine frequency, what am I talking about? You know, I am talking about love. When I say mindfulness without attention to divine frequency is hollow, the divine frequency I'm talking about, behold the soul, behold the soul and know that it is love. See, this mindfulness without attention to our own signature, how am I going to be able to tell what I should do right now if I am not paying attention to the energy that dictates my movement? Right? Like on a base level, if you don't understand nothing about what I'm talking about, you understand that if you have an itch on your neck, the very movement, the very feeling that you get on your cheek makes you determines the behavior, introduces the possibility that, you know what, let me go ahead and scratch that. I got a little itch on my neck. Let me go ahead and, you know, that the human process, the human life process is a constant interchange of energy. We're constantly paying attention to energy. And so what I'm saying is pay attention not to the fragmented energy, the energy of anger, the energy of anxiety, the energy of fear, because all of those lesser energies, anger, fear, anxiety, those are always about a person. Those are always about an individual. We're paying attention instead to an energy field that is wholeness itself. I define love as the end of the sense of separation. It is the end of separation itself, which means that it is oneness, which is why I draw it as a circle. No beginning, no end. Eternal. Love is oneness. And so if I want to avoid spiritual bypassing, if I want to avoid the sort of hollow mindfulness that can ultimately just have me doing the bidding of somebody else anyway, because they'll supply the story. If I'm just listening for instruction that's coming from another person, they'll supply the story. All you got to do is supply the labor. That's not freedom is our only problem here. If I'm working with somebody, you're working with that person and you're bringing all of yourself to that partnership or to that occupation, whatever it is. But if you're working there because secretly you're being guided by anxiety and fear, these lesser energies, not by divine frequency, not by love itself, not by wholeness itself, then I don't care what kind of mindfulness they give you, what kind of apps they give you. It's hollow, champ. I think it's one of the most critical missing elements to the scholarship on mindfulness as you see it in universities, as you see it published in, the Journal of Psychiatry or any real place in academia, is that we're talking about, yes, being phenomenologically, experientially in the present moment, making sure that our thoughts, our attention is just in the here and now with the activities, with the present flow of sensations. But it would take an altogether different caliber of researcher to be able to say, actually, the current flow of sensations is excellent and that's wonderful. But there is a higher frequency, a higher sensation that were you to follow, it would direct all of your steps, including the decision to either stay or leave your job, stay or leave your business, stay or leave a relationship. It does it all because it is all. That's why we say God is love. It does it all because it is all. It's the whole enchilada. It's the full circle. You understand? It's the full circle. And guess what? Mindfulness without divine frequency, without love, is hollow. That's our principle for the night. I like that. I like that. And really, you could say not just the mindfulness, but you could literally say any spiritual practice, any therapeutic practice that is without attention to divine frequency, of course, being love. I'm saying you need to be able to sense love within yourself at any point in time. What is it asking for you to do? What is it? What is love asking for you to do? What would you love to do right now? Hmm. What would you absolutely love to do right now? Hmm. Okay, so there it is. That is the question that is so powerful. And so now that we have this principle, what's the pattern? We've got this principle, but what's the pattern? Like when we're looking for the pattern, we're looking for that question that is, why would anyone get into this trap in the first place? What is it about the human mind that would make somebody fall into the trap of spiritual bypassing, of settling for these lesser tool sets? What, like, you know what I'm saying? Like what's the pattern here? Once I understand the pattern of something, then I can recognize it. Once I can recognize the pattern, then I can interrupt it. Once I can interrupt it, then I'm free. So again, what's the pattern? Our principle is that mindfulness without divine frequency is hollow. And our pattern, hmm, what is that pattern? Hmm. Okay. Our pattern is that fear creates the bypass, or more specifically, fear creates the desire for bypass, and it happens so insipidly. It happens so quietly that a lot of times, without even knowing we're operating in fear in the first place, we miss the fact that we're vulnerable to bypass. That our present activity itself is looking to bypass a fear we're afraid to face. Someone put in the chat that makes sense. You see, the pattern is that fear, the emotion of fear, creates the need for bypass. I could even put that. Fear creates the need for bypass, creates the desire for bypass. And that functions automatically. Let me put this up here. This right here is most people's autopilot. It functions automatically. In other words, the fear unexamined creates this need for a bypass. And what happens is we just automatically go to the bypassing. We automatically go to the bypassing. I remember uh, the very first person that I met doing Countdown to Breakthrough. Okay, Twin saying I'm picking up what you're putting down. Absolutely. Okay. Um, oh, Devontae in the room. Welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in with the twins. Okay. So we're talking about fear creates this need for bypass. And I'm saying, like, when I first went to Houston for the very first episode of Countdown to Breakthrough, for the very first person that we ran up on, um, he was like the light skinned dude with the what was man's name? Um, he was the one that was dealing like in the tank top. He was the one that was dealing with like the money issues, right? And so after our session, after we kind of worked together on the street, just on some random, he was like, "Hey, can I pull you to the side?" He was like, "Listen, man, like, do you do y'all smoke?" He's asking me and the cameraman. He was like, "Y'all smoke? Y'all smoke?" And I was like, "Nah, you don't smoke, bro." Like, you know what I'm saying? He was like, "Oh, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it?" He was like, "But is it cool if I smoke though? Like, is it cool?" And I was like, "Man, where are you trying to get to? You feel me? Like, where are you trying to like? You want this? You want the hit? You want the high? You want the drug? You want the thing? It's giving you something. It's feeding something. What is that thing? What is that thing? Is it making you feel like you're in tune with things? Like what is it? What is it? What's it doing for you? I'm not even hating on it. I'm not even hating on it. It's just like what is it doing for you though? And which part of you believes that it needs that? I'm not hating. Like you know what I'm saying? Like do you do whatever. But I'm just curious because if you don't want to give it up, I wonder why you think you need it. Where do you think it's taking you? And where are you trying to get to? Which is the other way of saying, where are you trying to get away from? These are questions. Because what happens is that we can pick up the weed on the basis that I'm not comfortable. I don't like the way things are going on in life. Let me go ahead and hit this real quick, and you're automatically in a bypass. The subtle fear of, if I don't use this, if I don't augment my reality in some way, then that means I'll have to stay in reality. And I'm afraid to. I'm afraid to keep living in such a state of limitation. That's a big one. So what I'm saying is that for the spiritual person, for the person who's, a lot of times people run to the meditation cushion, they run to the app, or they run to the some level of fear is causing that person to enter into a bypass. Being afraid and meditating is not a bypass. Meditating because you don't want to face a fear can be a first step, or it can be another mental numbing procedure, another place where you say, okay, I'm not even going to think about this. I'm not even going to. But in either case, remember, we go back to our principle. If the mindfulness that you are using, if the technique that you are using, if it is divorced from you sensing this love energy, remember, you cannot pick what you love. You just love what you love, which means somebody else, something higher, something beyond human put that there, which means that if I'm paying attention to just that love deal and I'm using my attention, my mindfulness, I'm using my awareness to bring me back into that frequency where the obvious choice is obvious now. Well, then there's no need for a bypass. There's no need for a bypass. What you'll find is that love and fear can never exist at the same time. That's another principle for another day, but the point is that this fear, it creates the need for the bypass, and that bypass is on autopilot. We experience the fear, we don't even check, we don't even know what the fear is for real. If you ask people what they're afraid of, people are like, I ain't scared of nothing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people not knowing that just a few tweaks to their environment will put them in panic. They get that phone call that, hey, we're doing some layoffs today, and we just, thank you for being with the company. Okay, 20 years, Jim. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one problem away from being in a panic attack. Talking about I ain't afraid of nothing. What keeps you going? Are you serving love? Are you serving something else? Okay, so fear creates the need for this bypass. That's our pattern. Hmm. And that joint happens automatically. It happens on autopilot. It happens on autopilot. So now that we know the principle, which is that mindfulness divorced from love is hollow, and we know the pattern, that fear is what causes that need for bypassing. And either you're going to take the materialist approach, you're going to hit the drugs, the alcohol, you're about to hit the clubs, or you're going to take the spiritual approach, which is where you do the mindfulness, you do the meditation, you do the psilocybin, you do the DMT, you do the out of this world trips, you do the psychic expansion techniques, you hit the manifestation techniques, You dig what I'm saying? Y'all, you spend all your time in the church doing a whole bunch of praying, but not doing the things that God is actually asking for you to do. You spend your time in the mosque doing all of the rituals, doing all of the praying in all the directions, but not doing what Allah is actually asking for you to do. Or you spend your time in the synagogue or on the meditation, the Buddhist temple, uh, uh, cushion, a cushion in the Buddhist temple, in the Sangha. I really don't care what it is. I care if there's love in it. That's the difference. That's the difference. So we know our pattern. Now we need to know our path forward. We know that the fear is what's doing this automatic bypassing. We know that the fear is what's doing all this automatic bypassing. But the problem with the fear is that fear is so subtle, we often do not think about what we're actually afraid of. Yet we know we're one phone call from our knees, from being crying on the floor because something just went wrong, the unthinkable. You dig what I'm saying? Like, it's not rational to be talking about there are no fears. More important to understand what those fears are, even the small ones. Remember last week, Super Mario Bro was like, he quit his six-figure business because he said that there were like these termites of lack. Right? Yeah, it was a six-figure business, but he could see that within it, he was there were all these little small micro fissures, all these little cracks, tiny, 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 tiny. But they were telling him that if he didn't keep traveling the world, other people would love to do this, but he don't really love to do it. But at least he's being envied. If he can't do what he loves, at least he can be envied for doing what somebody else thinks they would love. Mm. It's the same way with fear. Basically, that's what he was dealing with. But it's these small, tiny cracks. You would almost have to take a microscope up to your own mind to find these seeds of fear that are quietly steering your behavior. It's a constant process for me. The only way, the only path forward, before we actually even get to that, let me talk about with y'all in the chat. Okay, so yes. Okay, we got the new year. Okay, King Wolf saying I need to hear this right now. Absolutely. LOL Cool J, is that Devontae right there? Mindfulness is the beginning, the door to knowing who you are. Find out who absolutely, absolutely. Mindfulness is the beginning, the door to knowing who you are. It's like it's like again, remembering that principle. I agree, mindfulness is essential, but we're looking for the sort of mindfulness that allows us to tap into who we actually are rather than looking for the sort of mindfulness that just allows us to distance ourselves from the discomfort of emotion so that we can get back to doing what somebody else said we should do rather than what God said. You dig what I'm saying? Or rather, what love says. If you don't like the word God, no problem. I use the word love. You don't like the word love? Okay, I'll use your true self. You don't like that? Then, hey, we'll use the universe. Whatever it is, we'll use nature itself. I don't care. Whatever the deep fabric of existence is, I want to be paying attention to that. That's the reason I'm here. Jeff Bezos got enough money. You know what I'm saying? Like his son got enough money. That's why I'm like, wait, what are we doing, kid? Like he said, get back to busting your knees up for 15 an hour. Bro, all right. I'm not hating on it either. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like it is what it is, but it's like let it at least be what it is in clarity. Let it at least be what it is in clarity. Let it at least be what it is in clarity. Hey, LL Cool J, LOL Cool J. I like that. Is that Devontae right there? Put your name in the chat. I always like knowing the names in the chat so I can shout you out. Because right now, yeah, as he said, put your trays, the 333 in the chat if you're following and picking up what Dr. Shawn is saying. Twin, absolutely. Yeah, it's like that. It's like if you're understanding this, if you don't understand it, then you know what I'm saying, like say something. But we've covered the principle, we covered the pattern, but now we need the path forward. And again, I'm doing this thing where I don't know the teaching. I'm literally waiting for. We're talking about love. I'm waiting for love to speak. You feel me? Like that's what all the pausing is for. Is I'm like the frequency is the teaching. You feel me? And maybe that's why the frequency is the signal. Maybe that's why the frequency. Okay. Here's the path forward. The path forward opens when we understand that the frequency is the signal. That the frequency is your signal. In other words, the mindfulness that we're talking about, it takes us to a higher level when we're allowing ourselves to be mindful of this divine eternal frequency, this voice of God speaking, this most immaculate feeling that I call love. You dig what I'm saying? The frequency, when I say frequency, I'm talking about the love frequency. This is your signal, which means I cannot know what I am to do until I am tapped in to the frequency. Why? Because the frequency is going to give me my signal. It's going to tell me my direction. It's going to tell me where I need to go. It's got all of that with it. It comes with it. It comes with it. So it's like our path forward is to remember that the frequency is the signal. The frequency, it carries the signal. It's got it for you. That's what's missing from these Amazon Zen stations. They're not paying attention to the fact that true mindfulness means turning all the way within, not just to the surface level of, oh, I got some annoying thoughts I want to distance myself from, I want to create space from so I can get back to doing what I was told, but rather, no, I'm going to turn attention inward. Yes, be open and aware for the thoughts that are emerging, but I want to listen for the frequency underneath all thoughts, the frequency underneath the silence that all thought arises out of. I want to pay attention for that because that's where my signal will be. That's where that signal will direct my next step. It'll tell me where to go. It'll say, hey, look, go up the stairs, third floor. It'll say, no, go for a walk. It'll say, actually, you need to get about this job. It'll say, you know what? No, there's something to do here. I'm not done here yet. I'm going to keep showing up. The signal. It's like we've got this level of spirituality that we're cool with, as long as it gets people to kind of be pacified, as long as it gets people to have no ego and therefore no sense of direction that is certain, putting people back into this sort of state of tabula rasa, this sort of state of blank slate mind, there's a use for that. But ultimately, our responsibility here is to recognize that we are here to be a part of the frequency, to be a part of this divine unfolding. And we can only do that if we're operating from the signals that God is sending to us, that love is providing for us, that nature reveals to us. As a result, the frequency is the signal, and that's the path forward. Return to the frequency. It provides the signal that will let you know whether or not it is time to sit or move. That frequency will let you know. You ain't got to worry about it missing something. It don't miss a thing. It cannot. That's because it includes all things. It has already calibrated everything for you. That's why I always draw it as a circle. Behold, eternity. No beginning, no ending. It's the reason that we say God is love. No beginning, no ending. So that let me get on what LOL Cool J. I don't man. So LOL. Let me just say LL. You know what I'm saying? It ain't hard to spell. Okay, so here we go. Basically, he's saying, but maybe it's the universe, God, etc., who is observing. Mindfulness is observing. At some point, it clicks that we are not the thoughts, emotions, perceptions, and then we find out who is observing. Okay, beautiful. Yes, yes. But what I'm doing for you tonight is adding one. Is just adding a new uh, a penetrating layer of insight. I'll get to that in just a second. Okay, so he's saying that's the Buddhist Advaita Vedanta tradition. Absolutely wonderful. So yes, this notion that LL it ain't hard to spell is saying, but maybe it's the universe God who is observing. Oh, I don't think there's a maybe about it. That is the case. What I'm saying, however, is that when we talk about this observer, we talk about this God awareness. That awareness is much more than just something that it just sees things. What the Buddhists and the Vedantic um, tradition, the Advaita specialists, what they found out is that the awareness that we are aware of this moment with is actually creating this moment. It's creating the objects in the rooms. We cannot rely on modern physics to bring us to this conclusion because people just don't know enough yet to be able to say what's being spoken right now, which is that the consciousness, this great consciousness that you feel as I am is also creating everything that you can see, that you can touch, that you can smell. Right? You get into these deep states of meditation and it becomes very, very obvious. It becomes very, very clear. But what I'm saying is that, and this is the part, LL. It ain't hard to spell. Like, this is the part, is that after you come to that conclusion and you have that most brilliant, that most auspicious of insights, the challenge is that you have to go right back to being human. You feel me? So you go right back. It is not as if you see that and then all of a sudden you poof and you disappear into a different level of smoke. No. You start to understand how manifestation works, how, okay, direct the mind, and yes, I can see it if I see it in the mind, I can see it in reality, as above, so below. You start to see how that works, and you start to produce your results. But guess what? Every single thing that you produce, it comes attached with it the law of rhythm, which means that things will be good some days, bad some days. It don't matter what you do. You are in charge of your peace. You are in charge of what you create. You are in charge of how you feel. And that's wonderful. But at some point, you're going to come to the question and be like, all right, yo, yeah, I still got to be like, we are still in this human experience. This is still like, I still got kids. I got to raise. I still got to eat. You know what I'm saying? We don't just give that up. We don't just be like, oh no, I'm the eternal awareness. I'm good for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? No, it's like, it's no, the life process, Maya continues. So Maya just means illusion in the Buddhist tradition. So all of that still continues. You still got to do whatever it is. And I think that the part that was most profound for me, and the part that I actually don't hear most of the teachers that I respect speak enough about, is that there is this observer, because it is everything. To recognize it as everything, that very recognition carries a signature with it, an energetic signature that can be felt inside the body. I don't have another name for it. I just call it love. The reason I call it love is because it is what you think it is, but it's also much more than that. You dig what I'm saying? But when I say love, they know what that is. They can feel what that is, which means that when we're talking about this totality of reality, we're talking about that observer, which is actually one with all things. To recognize that is to collapse the distinction between self and other. The feeling of love naturally emerges within you. And what I'm saying is that because that feeling is already perfect and it carries the perfect intelligence of the universe, it carries the perfect intelligence of this divine observer, of God itself, right? It only makes sense to follow. I don't do anything else. My biggest trouble in life is making sure that I'm following love and not just following something that I wish was love, because I think it secretly gets me somewhere. You dig what I'm saying? Like, that's my me personally. But independent, like, bro, that's all it is. That's all that is left. Once you have seen that the observers, like, I think the bulk of the teachers, they assume that once you see this for yourself in your real experience, once you see that, oh wait, I am all things, like, the assumption is that the love will naturally blossom, and that's correct. I just don't know how many people get stabilized in that observation. And so I don't, when we start talking about love, I think it starts to get a little bit more fly to the sky, pie in the sky for people, and they have a hard time contextualizing what it actually is and how we are to use it in order to live our existence. Because guess what? When you feel when you feel that love, when you feel that, oh, wait, yes, all things are connected, not just connected, they're all one. Oh, wait, I'm a part of that. Oh, wait, I am that. Oh, wait, so are they. Oh, wait. You start to collapse that distinction. You start to walk into rooms feeling love, and people can feel that off of you. It reminds them of who they are. Now their behavior begins to augment. We are beyond the superficial mindfulness of just, oh, man, just create some distance from your thought, then get back to work, breaking your knees up. We're beyond that. Now we're at the place where it's like, oh, okay, if this institution is holy, if it is divine, then you have no fear of love because I would show up and I would do the work for free. The fact that there's money involved is wonderful, but I would come anyway. You dig what I'm saying? That moves humanity from a very to a very different position. From one where we're constantly looking to see what we can get from somebody to a higher position where we can actually cooperate together in a way that is mutually energetically enhancing. Remember at the top of the show, I was saying that, all conflicts can be, and I heard this from a YouTube joint. I've been watching too much YouTube. They were like all conflicts, but it resonated with me. So I say it again, that all conflicts can basically be distilled down into a person taking energy from another person. Military conflicts, national conflicts, or relational conflicts. Okay. But when we start operating in this love capacity, our very actions beget more of the highest energy source there is. You dig what I'm saying? So yes, I'm serving you, but I'm serving me as I'm serving you, and so it serves me. You dig what I'm saying? And there's this the energy never goes, it never dissipates because it's always in circulation. Okay. Okay, so Paul Costa. Okay, so let me get back to these comments. He's saying the observer becomes observed at some point too. Okay, LL ain't hard to spell. I gotta get okay, hold on, I gotta go back up. Okay. And I think the love emerges from within naturally when we're not bogged down by our identities. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, okay, so yeah, that's exactly I didn't read that part yet, but yeah, that's exactly right. The love emerges naturally. But isn't it so powerful to know the step, bro? Like I want to know it's helpful for me to be like, because for years I got stuck in this notion of being like, oh, wait, I can see the observer and I can see the observed and I can see the supreme awareness. That's why we talk about supreme awareness. Literally, that's it. Supreme awareness, that's like step one. You dig what I'm saying? But what I started seeing is that people were only talking about supreme awareness. And I was like, gee, there's more that we can do from here. You feel me? And ultimately, if we can get back to this love frequency, then you're now being lived by something powerful. Okay. Oh, LL saying you're good. LL 100%. Uh-huh. Yeah. So the observer becomes observed at some point. Absolutely. Twin says yesterday they can feel. LL says seeing it will change your life, but it's about integrating it. It takes a while. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Like seeing it will change your life, but integrating it, becoming it. That was the part for me that love fixed was it was like, okay, well, you have this you can see this you have this perception, you have this insight, and this is wonderful and magical. But then when you're speaking with somebody, how easy is it to get pulled back into a story of, oh man, this person's from a enemy tribe, this person is from, they're just they're trying to get over, they're trying to, you can easily get but pulled back into a lower level of existence, especially as you're learning this stuff for the first time. But what I found for me specifically is that if I can just attend to this love, I see the observation, I can see the interconnectedness, I can see the oneness. That oneness generates a love experience within me. And that love tells me where to go. It'll say, hey, buddy, that decision to go start that project, I'm not there, so why would you be? That decision to go and start this project, I am there. You need to be too. You dig what I'm saying? Like it's not a need, but wouldn't it be so loving if? And so once I started seeing that way, if I can just stay in touch with this love deal, if I can just do what is so cliche and follow the heart, follow my heart on some Disney talk, like I find that the integration happens automatically. The integration happens automatically. And people will say, what I mean, it's people will feel it and you'll be able to observe that. right? So you're sort of walking in between two worlds. One where obviously you're human and you can sense, yeah, but another where you can sense that the human is actually operating within the field that is you, the greater field that is you. Oh, so the human can communicate still, but the signal that it gets from the field is codified as love. It is codified as a frequency, and that frequency is the signal. Just need you to understand the path forward. That's all I'm asking tonight. That's all I'm asking tonight. I'm saying the exact same thing. I'm just saying that this love frequency, it does something. It does something. Okay, he's saying, I hear you. Okay, so Paul Costa, I'm gonna just say Paul. That's equivalent to asking, is prayer used to control you? Of course, it can be used and taught that way, and it's far from describing the power and breadth of the experience, the act of prayer. Yeah, I mean, it's the equivalent of asking, is prayer used to control you? Like, but man, that's a hell of a question, Paul. That's a hell of a question. Like, it's. I would want to know how this is being used, and I would want to know if you said if I didn't have today's lecture and lesson, I would want to know how who stands to benefit from all these confessions, from public displays of prayer, from convincing me that God is like a Santa Claus that I need to go and speak to in order to get something from. Who would set up that matrix of mind? Maybe nobody. Maybe it's nothing. But if I don't know how something is being used, it's hard to know. I'll never even start a path of finding out how to use something correctly. I would never even start. So I would keep going to God and asking for things rather than going to God and listening. Okay, so LL is saying it's tough to try to get through life with your hopes and dreams and needing material things to be met. It's hard to tough through with just being mindful of whatever. And that dude, that that is my whole point. Let me say this. I think I literally have a passage in this book, um, in this joint where, so the next phase from supreme awareness is this thing called the I don mind, right? So we get to a place where we literally say, I don't mind to what happens, but we actually mean it because we're stabilized. You dig what I'm saying? And so this is a part of this is the symbol I'm literally trying to show y'all every single live because this is how basically the mechanism of transcendent psychology works. Like, if I got to sit here and try and tough through something, it's only going to be a matter of time before I go ahead and grab the weed or grab the alcohol or grab the meditation cushion, right? Because I'm trying to run away from something. If my experience is so uncomfortable, okay, that I got to be out here sitting with sensations and just being all types of bothered, and I don't know what the true purpose of sitting is in the first place, it's easy to get into the bypassing. So what if instead we found a way to be mindful, to practice our mindfulness, understanding, of course, that there is a foundational frequency that will appear to us the more that we simply abide in awareness, the more we simply abide in this presence, right? The presence, the awareness, this is the true prayer. Very, 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 very excellent. These were my issues exactly. I was like, dang, like how am I supposed to? I gotta sit here and act like I don't feel embarrassed, act like I'm not afraid, act like, and I'm supposed to just let these things pass. What happens when they come back again? I'm not really processing. I'm not really doing the things that I found myself basically just waiting out pain. I mean, maybe everyone has to go through that phase, but like ultimately, we're not talking about running away from pain. We are going to face it, but we're also going to recognize that the pain is sending us a reminder to return to something deeper. And so we want to be able to do that part. We want to be able to do that part. Okay, so love the comments in the Soul Seed community. Yes, yes. Mm. Okay, so Paul saying, I'm loving this. Certain things that are real and built in sometimes addictive nature add OCD autism coupled with lack of support and resources can leave one feeling defeated. Man, man, you ain't never lie. That's right. And that's why, look, that's why we do the Breakthrough Live is these tools are profound, they're powerful, and if we can use them effectively, we can recognize. Like again, I always tell you, listen, love your enemies. Do not pretend you don't have them. You dig what I'm saying? Like, no, there's people who want the control. They want the energy. They want the oil. They want it, bro. They want it. They want it. And they're not necessarily caring about how they get it as long as they get it. And the issue is that that kind of approach to life is completely ignorant of frequency. It's completely ignorant of true mindfulness. So what happens is people will misuse mindfulness. Just like people have misused Bibles and Qurans and Torahs and all kinds of. So when we talk about getting to this place where we're returning to a true mindfulness, one that is not merely open to passing thoughts and emotions, but open also to the deeper feeling that you can feel inside of your body. Open also to the possibility of oneness at all times, to the possibility of love at all times. Oh. And when I know that love frequency is what carries my life and destiny forward, oh, then my very practice becomes one of returning constantly back to this feeling of love. And I literally ask it, what would I love to do right now? What is love saying? And I notice that when the love is present, only love is present. That'll be a conversation for another day. Because right now, I know y'all hear that. I know y'all hear it. I know y'all hear it. And this dude, he comes through every single week and he's been hitting us with the fire. He's been hitting us with the fire, but will he do it again tonight? This would have to be going 10 for 10. Let me see if he'll do it tonight. Won't he do it? Watch this. Mm. Don't know what time it is. It's Breakthrough Turtle time. Oh yes. Oh yes. What's good, B? Breakthrough Turtles from New York. Okay, I think he stay on Fifth and Vine. Are those even streets? I don't know. Here's the deal. Breakthrough Turtle is here and he's going to give us a specific quote. Typically, the quote usually fits the conversation. I don't know, wouldn't know, because today's conversation was completely channeled, completely organic. So we'll see what Breakthrough Turtle has for us. Put your turtles in the chat. Put your turtles in the chat for Breakthrough Turtle. You know what I'm saying? It's been a week since he's seen y'all. Look at Twin. Twin says, "What up, B?" He says, "What up, T?" All right, all right, all right. Put your turtles in the chat. Okay, so here we go. We open up Breakthrough Turtle. Looks like he's got a little message inside of there for us. Okay. Yeah, me and Breakthrough Turtle been going. We've been tight since like '93. I guess '95. That's when he came through. Uh-oh. He said, "Oh snap." Twin said, "Oh snap, Breakthrough." He said, "Breakthrough Turtle in here." Uh-oh. And he even put the snap in the emoji. I didn't know they had those. Oh. Okay. So the quote says, "Together we glow brighter than the sun and moon combined. We are love." Sanjo Jindai. Huh. The quote says, together we glow brighter than the sun and moon combined. We are love. Together we glow brighter than the sun and moon combined. We are love. In order to glow brighter than the sun and the moon combined, you would have to be the ultimate light. You would have to be the ultimate light, lighting the way. And if love is that, then that would mean that when we follow love, there is no higher path. There is no brighter path. There is no clearer path. The path of love is brighter than the sun and moon combined. And if we are that, then it's always accessible within us. And to tap into that, to become mindful of that, is to decide that we will serve no lesser being than God itself. The God that dwells in the kingdom of heaven within. Mm. Even Paul put the turtle in for you, breakthrough turtle. He got it in, B. And Paul meditates too. Okay, shout out to the heart teacher. Shout out. Beautiful. Absolutely. Me and Twin always are rewatch in the morning and meditate. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's actually good information. I didn't know that people were using this in that way. And so, folks, if y'all cool with some real mindfulness, perhaps we should do that now. If y'all cool with experiencing true mindfulness, the sort that considers all of you, not just a work schedule or a passing thought, a passing feeling, some anxiety. I'm talking about the sort of mindfulness that considers all of you. Then we will need to begin our practice for the evening. And as a matter of fact, As a matter of fact, let's begin. At this time, this is the part in the show where I bring in a conscious transformation technology. It's a kit. Some people might call them meditations, but these are tools that we utilize in order to explore our own inner dimension so that we can actually have our moment of breakthrough, our moment of experiencing this divine frequency and allowing it to coordinate and direct our life. If you like the term of getting back in touch with God, that's what we do. If you like the term of getting back in touch with nature, that's what we do. I prefer the idea of getting back in touch with love. Let's begin. Good time to find a place to sit or stand or lay flat on your back. But if you're ready to begin, let's do so now. Take a deep breath in with me. Inhale. Exhale. Because healing begins when we are aware. At this time, take a moment to become aware of the darkness behind your eyes. Let this awareness extend from the darkness behind your eyes to the bottom soles of your feet. See if you can maintain your awareness in both places at once, both behind the darkness of your eyes and the soles of your feet. Simply observe your inner body. Observe your breathing. Do not control your breathing. Simply allow the body to breathe on its own while you maintain your awareness behind the darkness of your eyes and the soles of your feet. Simply observe all that is happening inside of the body. As your awareness stays on the darkness behind the eyes and the soles of the feet. At this time, push your awareness out to the surface of your skin, to the tip of your nose, and to the skin on the bottom of your feet. Let your awareness move from the inside out, the very surface of your own skin. You are completely aware of the skin on your physical body. Now, rest here. At this time, become aware of the space that surrounds your body. Move your awareness from the surface of the skin to the space in the room, to the space that surrounds your body. Push your awareness from the skin out into the space around your arms, your chest, your head, your legs, your back. Notice that you can be both aware of your body and the space around your body at the same time. Rest here. If you can only do an inch outside of your body, do an inch. You can expand your awareness a foot outside of the body into the space around the body. Do a foot. Because right now, I want you to extend your awareness to all of the space that is in the room that you are currently sitting in. Expand your awareness until your awareness stretches and completely fills up the space of the room that you are in. Do not force, simply allow awareness to expand outside of your body, off of your skin, into the space of the room you are in all directions. See that you are aware of the space in the room, even when your eyes are closed. Rest here. At this time, stretch your awareness. Allow your awareness to expand beyond the room until it extends outside. Let this awareness continue to expand. Expand this awareness until it covers the neighborhood, the block, the city, the state, the world, the cosmos. Rest here. In this expanded state of awareness, think of love right now. What would love feel like? What would it feel like if love were growing in you at this moment? Picture love as a glowing ball of white light radiating in you now. Feel the warmth of love vibrating inside you. Love is growing stronger within you each second. Picture this glowing ball of white love light expanding from within you, completely covering the entire cosmos. Everything is covered in love from the inside out right now. Feel yourself hum in this white light of love. Rest here. Whenever thoughts appear to you, as you radiate in love, expand this white light of love to the thought itself. See the white light of love engulfing the thought and cleansing the thought from the inside out. Once you have sent love to the thought that appeared to you, simply return to radiating in the white light of love. Notice how you feel. Notice how no thought can disturb this white light of radiating love within you. Whenever negative emotions appear to you, as you radiate in love, expand this white light of love to the emotion itself. See the white light of love engulfing the emotion and cleansing the emotion from the inside out. Once you have sent love to the emotion that appeared to you, simply return to radiating in the white light of love. Notice how you feel. Notice how no emotion can disturb this white light of radiating love within you. Expand this white light of love from within your body and spread this white ball of love light until it fills the entire cosmos. Rest here. You are home. You can live your life from here. Abide in this love. Do only the activities that resonate with this love. You are free. When you're ready, take a deep breath in with me. Inhale. Exhale. Simply open your eyes. Mm. Folks, I highly recommend returning to this exercise throughout the week. Every day, you can just fast forward to this part. But it is a simple kit like that that brings you back in touch not only with the ecosystem of the mind, but also the ecosystem of the heart. And now you are capable of true mindfulness, being not only mindful of surface level thoughts and feelings, surface level thoughts and emotions, but also being mindful of this expansive, infinite domain within you that can somehow cover all things, somehow be one with all things, and within that to pay attention to love itself. There is no greater gift because there is no greater love. And so, if fear is our only enemy, then we bring heaven to earth when we transform our minds. I'm Dr. Shawn, and we were not sent to impress our people. We were sent to transform our people into a light for the world. For God's universe opens to all who believe in breakthrough.